The presenting sponsor for OnEducation is Classcraft. We're excited to announce Classcraft's new story mode, which makes it easy for educators to harness the power of stories. Episodes 1 and 2 of Season 1 are ready for you and your students to play today, and it's completely free. To learn more about Classcraft and the new story mode, simply visit classcraft.com/oneducation.
Pioneering movements like this in education, these revolutionary concepts, they only work if they're thought through and deployed effectively and successfully and with meaning and relevancy.
Welcome to another episode of OnEducation Presents. OnEducation is a member of the Educational Podcast Network, and we're so happy you've joined us. In the world of games-based learning and in the world of Minecraft in education, he's a legend.
Reid and his team at Immersive Minds build unbelievable worlds and embed them with incredible teaching and learning opportunities. He's a good friend, and we're excited to have him with us on the podcast. Welcome, Stephen, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Mike and Glen. Although legend is just a bit, it's a bit much, but thank you.
No, I was good. I was good with it. I was trying to find a really strong word for it, and I landed on legend. I'm pretty happy with where we're at. So before we get started, why not give us a bit of an introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and specifically about Immersive Minds.
So I'm based in Scotland, and for many years now, 19 in fact, I have actually this will be my 20th year. So for 2 decades, I have used technology to teach, even before I was really in education. And when I say, people talk about games-based learning now, and it's this kind of thing that everyone's on board with. And I sometimes bring up at parties that I used to teach with Command & Conquer Red Alert and the original Tomb Raider. And people are like, you what?
Yeah, that's a good game.
So I've been using, for like 20 years, my head's been in this space, and I really kind of made it my passion to find new and exciting ways of engaging children with technology, and not just games. I mean, I am a gamer, and I've loved using games, but podcasting, animation, filmmaking, 3D printing, virtual reality. There's times where I've just strapped digital cameras to primary school children's feet and then taken them outdoors, and we've done hedgehog videos. We pretended to be hedgehogs because there's. And this is the kind of stuff I get up to. I'm like, technology for me is the ultimate toy. It's like, what can we do with this? And and that comes with its own trials and tribulations. Goodness knows I've broken enough cameras, and kind of the word "oops" is never far from my lips. But it's been worth it. It's been an incredible journey, and it is my passion. It's my life's passion, is finding great ways, new, exciting ways of teaching what we've always taught and what we need to teach. Let's face it, maths and the sciences and literacy, these are important things for our children to learn, and our adults to and to deploy as adults. But it's just, there has to be a million new ways to do it, and make it my mission to find them.
So, Stephen, you've been such an inspiration with much of my work with Minecraft for my Spanish students. And so I had a question about what you feel the difference is between worlds that are pre-built by an educator, or as in your company as far as Immersive Minds, with embedded content already there, versus just having students pick up, for example, a game like Minecraft and start creating.
Sure. Well, I'm very lucky. I've worked to the point now where that I can travel as much as I do, and you guys are probably familiar with just how much I travel. I work in 62 countries over, in any. I'm not in 62 countries in a year, but our work is. And so, in terms of watching, the ability to be able to see a kind of a rich portfolio of users of Minecraft, whether it's existing content or making their own, I really have a unique insight into that, and I'm very blessed in that way to be able to do that. And so, I think the answer to your question is that there is a huge merit to both. But I'll start with the first, which is the pre-made content that you mentioned. without sounding too kind of negative or controversial about this, things like Minecraft Education Edition only succeed. Pioneering movements like this in education, these revolutionary concepts, they only work if they're thought through and deployed effectively and successfully and with meaning and relevancy. Great pedagogy, dedicated curriculum and high quality and high impact content. And so content and content sits at the kind of the top of that, because without content, people, especially time poor teachers, are not going to pick that up. They're not going to do it. Whether it's 3D printing or it's virtual reality or it's even learning to podcast, teachers aren't going to do it unless first of all, it's accessible. But once it's accessible, what content do I have to either engage with or learn through myself or just deliver to my children? And content is king. And one of the weaknesses in the system that I've seen with Minecraft as we've kind of worked with it over the last 10 years is exactly that. There is a struggle to create and deliver content that really allows teachers to kind of pick it up and run with it. And so what we've tried to do and where we see the biggest successes in our work and other people's work as well, because there's some wonderful stuff out there from other educators who build pre-made content, pre-made education content with Minecraft. What we've seen, where we've seen the biggest immediate successes, and if you're looking at this from a Microsoft perspective, it's like driving usage and logins and sales of the product. But if you look at it from a pedagogical sort of educator perspective, it's just how effective is this in front of my children and so on. Where we've seen the biggest successes for both of those metrics is in the meaningful, relevant pre-built content, and that comes in a number of there's a number of factors to making that so. The first is children have to want to play in it. They see Minecraft worlds every day. They see incredible things. They go online and they watch YouTube videos of the most amazing people with the most amazing skins, high-profile YouTubers with incredible skins, showing them wonderful worlds that they then trottle off and download themselves. And so what we have to do in order to create an educational content stream that children want to access is it has to be something that they look at and go, oh, wow, I need to get into this world and do something with this. So, when we build an art studio, for example, which we've just finished, we literally built Claude Monet's art studio and we recreated his paintings, 1 to 17,000 scale, made entirely out of blocks. So up close, wow, they're just a complete mess. But when you draw back from them, they are a very detailed, massive scale, intricate recreation of Claude Monet's paintings. Now, trying to teach children about Claude Monet it's not the most exciting in the world. But we have children. In fact, we just worked with Steve Isaacs at Mindfair this weekend and did 2 sessions in the world. The children couldn't get enough of it. They were fascinated by these paintings and they wanted to know what they were of and why they were this, what style of painting is this and who did this? And they had all these questions. And it's because we made the content, we made them content hungry to begin with. Then come the questions, then you build in the curriculum, and then you, of course, create the pedagogy around it. I am never, ever more amazed. I mean, I work with some incredible creators of Minecraft worlds. I have a build team that just amazes me every day. But I am never more amazed as when you get children creating for themselves. And to give you an example of what I mean by that is we did a project a few years ago where we wanted to create, I wanted to prove the concept of hydroelectric power using Minecraft. And we were doing a big renewable energies project. And there was the sort of the kickback from the teachers. The teacher at the time said to me, who's a social studies teacher, said, I can't believe you want to use Minecraft, and you better make this work, because you take 2 days of my kids' time to do this. You're going to have to make that work. And so it was, and I appreciate that. And it was sitting heavy on my shoulders for the kind of weekend that I was planning it. And then we went in, and I kind of had to lay it in the kids' hands, and I said, guys, we're going to look at river ecology, and we're going to look at rivers as energy. and this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to go online, we're going to research, we're going to model, we're going to build one out of Lego. We're going to, explore the different famous dams of the world. We're going to ask ourselves about the mathematics and the engineering behind them. What does it take to flood a valley? I told them a story about a valley in Scotland that was flooded, and it had a village in it. And they just moved everybody out of the village, and they flooded it. It's quite a common story. And they flooded it and turned it into a reservoir. And now when the water goes to below a certain point, only the church steeple sticks out. And you can go and take photographs of it. There's a church steeple sticks out in the middle of this sort of lake. It's incredible. And they were fascinated by this. And they jumped on. And of course, the moment of truth was, what are they going to do? And they built this landscape. They manually, as a class of 32 children, they created the valley. They then flooded the valley with water, and they came across all the problems with the accuracy of water fluids in Minecraft. They sorted the solution out for that. They then created the dam at the end of the valley. They built the power station. And then I thought they were done. I thought, this is it. They've created the dam, the power station. But they built a tourist centre. Then one kid said to me, what about the fish? And I said, what about them? He said, well, if we dam the rivers, the fish can't get up them. So I said, brilliant. And we went back online and we explored river ecology and salmon and, fish ladders. So then they engineered a fish ladder. And then they it was amazing. And then one kid said to me, when it rains, a cauldron fills up. So we could have a command block that detects that when the cauldron filled up, then the power comes on. I've never seen anything like it. And so in contrast to us building these wonderful worlds, these kids just literally created this entire engineering system because they know this. This is a literacy for them. They know the product. Just tell them what you want them to build.
Yeah.
So I think there's merit in both.
Yeah, totally. And so you brought up, so I had a chance to see this Monet world. You showed me, and it just, like, my head basically exploded right off my body. It's unbelievable. And what I'm super curious about is a little bit of the process. How do you even start? Like, I love Minecraft. I was literally playing Minecraft earlier today. I play and build all the time. I couldn't even begin to know where to start building something like that. Yeah. So I'm not saying give us the how to build Monet's Art Studio 101 in 1/17th scale or whatever it was, but how do you even start thinking about building something that amazing?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, because it's taken me a long, long time to appreciate. We can be very critical of ourselves as human beings in general, and particularly as educators. We can be very critical of our own strengths and our own processes for things and so on. But it's taken me a long, long time to be able to kind of look myself in the mirror and say, you are really creative. And people tell me that, and this is, I really come at this very humbly, and I'm not big-headed in this way, but people say to me, oh, Stephen, you're so creative. And when I talk to them about it, they go, it's just, pick up a guitar, one of those things. And it is not one of those things. It's an art form, but they don't see it. I think that's one of those sort of issues with creatives and teachers. And so the main concept of what you're asking is who kind of dreams it up to begin with. And that for me is the really important part. There's a lot of people out there trying to build worlds, and they're not thinking big enough. Minecraft can do anything you want it to do. It can literally, you can create anything. I mean, I have a colleague in the UK, a wonderful artist called Adam Clark, and he scanned a human body, a prisoner who had passed away, and they scanned his body, and then they made it in Minecraft. And children can now go
goodness.
And it's lying down on this desk, and there's nose and there's eyes and there's the head, and you can go down its throat, and then he sliced it. He then used a piece of software to slice it, and the kids can go and look at all the different parts of the body. It's incredible. And Minecraft can do anything you want it to do. So what I do is, the process is, I have a little sort of army of some of the most creative builders in the world, but the vision has to come from somewhere. So I spend quite a lot of my time, whether it's on a flight or on a yacht. Look at this. I'm sitting on a yacht in Seattle right now taking this, and it's a wonderful thing. But or it might just be at home. It might just be sitting at the kitchen table, and I sketch. It's the artist in me, and I sketch and I draw and I have sketch pads and sketch pads and sketch pads of stuff. And then I take those sketches to my builders and I say, this is what I want. And I deploy everything from, analytical drawing to, color to perspective. And then I take it to them and I say, this is what I want. And you'll notice this is the character. So you're technically the size of a fly. And that makes these big canvases in this art world, sort of 1 to whatever scale. And then I sit down with them because I'm also one of the builders on my team. I then sit down with them and we just start building together. But it has to come from a sketch. And actually, another colleague of mine, Becky Keane in the States, her and I have a laugh about it sometimes because she'll sketch for me and she'll say, right, this is what I want. And she draws like a stick bear with like a tree. And Becky was just like, wow, I gave you a stick bear and that's what you did. Of course, I went away and I redesigned it and I showed my guys and I drew the trees and I had the waterfall coming out of the bear's eye so it looked like he was crying because of the sort of difficult history of America and the indigenous people specifically. And I kind of redesigned that. And I put a tweet out recently, I'll just finish by saying I put a tweet out recently, which may not sound like a humble tweet, but it was an appreciation for my life and my job. I put a tweet out recently that said, I build dreams that children learn in. And I really do believe that. I build worlds that children want to play in and learn in. And I'm very,
I
very
love that. I remember, Stephen, a few months ago, you and Mike were together in Toronto and you were doing a session and he was live texting during it with Steve Isaacs.
Right. You should have been paying attention.
Or he was texting Steve Isaacs and me. He was explaining that you were giving basically a master class on game-based learning. Yeah. And you were talking about dozens of other games. Can you give us a bit of a tour of game-based learning and what are some of your favorite games?
Sure, absolutely. I kind of realized after some time in my career that I was picking up games and teaching with them. Back then, and I'm talking, like sort of 15 years ago, games-based learning didn't have a title. And I wasn't, I was certainly, I suppose I could say I was one of the pioneers of this, but there were others with me, and there was some amazing stuff going on in Scotland at the time with even the Consolarium, which came along, which was actually, teachers could hire Xboxes for free, but they had to apply and they could get like a class set of Xboxes. And that was a space that existed. It was a government run space in Scotland that existed in that way, but we didn't call it games-based learning. It didn't have a name as such. And but I did come to a point in my career when I started to kind of meet other people in this movement that was going on. And I was like, we're doing something. And what is it called? And people started to whisper about, learning through games or games-based learning and stuff like that. And I got really excited about that. And then I remember somebody asking me one day, what is it? And I just, and right there and then was born probably the presentation that Mike's talking about, because I also did it. The first time I ever did it officially was at, and talked about it officially was at E2 in Budapest for Microsoft. And I just remember sitting, just talking to this guy about, Command and Conquer Red Alert, Journey, the original Tomb Raider, Valiant Hearts, Blockhood, Besiege, Little Big Planet. I mean, we just about 8 years ago now, we finished a project for the oil industry using Little Big Planet, and it was helping children to understand how fossil fuels are formed and how we should be moving away from them, which I thought was very brave 8 years ago of the oil industry. It was a UK project to say, look, this is where they come from, but they are finite. And at some point, we're going to have to move. So I kind of jumped on that. And we used Little Big Planet. And it was amazing. We built, we had earthquakes and we had anticlines that, and we had oil. And we worked out how to use Little Big Planet to create all these visuals. And then we created it as a story, and the children played the character through these 5 levels. They went back in time. They went into a time pole. They learned about the heat, the pressure, and the moisture that then made oil. The three scientific processes of creating the fossil fuels. And by the time we were finished, they had produced this electricity, which then played their PlayStation back in the house that they had started with in the beginning. which then related to the PlayStation they were using right then and there to play this level. So there was this kind of like loop of learning where the kids were like, oh, so that tree fell down 400 million years ago, and now I'm using it to play my PlayStation. So it's kind of like this really lovely loop. And I just started to realize I'm using all these games for play. And so I started to reach out and talk to people about it and started to meet my tribe, if you like. And some of my favorite games are things like Civilization.
That's Mike's favorite.
That's it, right? For years, I've been using Age of Empires.
Well, I mean, I used to say I wouldn't. I've said it all the time. I wouldn't be a teacher if it wasn't for Civilization. I straight up wouldn't be a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Civilization, Age of Empires. And when I say Age of Empires, I use the map editor and all the embellishments. You know, I say to the kids, we're going to use Age of Empires 3, and then what we're going to do is use the map editor. You have all of the assets that it gives to you, and I want you to build for me a scene from the Oregon Trail. Or we do Age of Empires 2, and I say, okay, there's a Joan of Arc scenario in there, but I don't want you to play the scenario. I want you to research, find out about or do all the stuff that we've been doing on this Joan of Arc project, you know, for the last sort of 3 weeks. And I want you to tell me the story in Age of Empires. And they go off and they use all the characters, and they place trees, and they place buildings, and they place rivers, and they name the river, you know, because it was something that they read about. And it's just beautiful. Valiant Hearts, we use, even Ark Survival Evolved. I spend quite a bit of time when I'm able to in Ark, the dinosaur movie, the dinosaur game. I'm thinking of Jurassic Park, but Ark Survival Evolved, and we use that really quite a lot. Not just for, I mean, teaching dinosaurs is probably the most obvious way, and kids marvel at it because they can see a real T-Rex, you know, or they could see a Tyrannosaurus, a Triceratops or something. But actually, what I use it for is looking at the food chain and biodiversity. We place the children on an island full of herbivores and carnivores and insects and fish. And then I say to them, let's go figure out what this looks like. And then once we're done, we come out of Ark Survival Evolved and we say to them, now, let's take everything we've learned from that experience, including our place in that food chain, and let's apply it to the Canadian Rockies, or let's apply it to the Australian outback, or let's apply it to Central Africa. And then they go off and they apply everything they've learned, and they learn about the antelope, or they learn about the beavers in Canada and how they're kind of managing the rivers and the wolves and the moose and so on. And they do all of that, and they come back and they say, this is what Canada looks like as a biodiversity model. And they learned, and what they learned modeling in Ark Survival Evolved. And so it soon, it became apparent over the years as time went on that you can pick up, and I'm not saying you can pick up any game. Not every game is made equal. Not all games are made equal, and not every game can be used in the classroom. But if you've got the mindset for it, there's a lot you can do with a lot of games.
Yeah, completely agree. I remember because I was sitting there going, guys, he's like giving people a games 101, and I don't think they get it, but I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. It was pretty fun to sit and watch you do it. I'd like to spend kind of our last bit here. I'd like to spend a little time talking about one specific project that you've worked on that is pretty incredible. You recently completed work on curriculum related to the refugee experience, and the refugee crisis is happening kind of around the world, Greece and these other places where these refugee crises are occurring. Can you talk a bit first about why you decided to tackle such a, this is a pretty complex, complicated, emotional issue, but then maybe talk about, the impact and even the reception of it and just how is it been received?
Okay, that's a great question. It's actually, this is probably the single most passionate piece of all my work is, I love teaching. I mean, I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an English teacher, but I love teaching those things. And I love getting my I work with teachers to do all of that sort of stuff. And I love that. But my real passion as a human being, and as the sort of human being that I am, and that's a very sort of compassionate and socialist and empathic human being that I am, I believe that there's always more we could be doing for this world and for each other and for the planet and for the animals and for the just there's more we could be doing. And so that contribution is something that A, I want to give, and B, I want to instill in other people. And so I started a project many years ago called Teaching the Tough Stuff. And it just kind of trundles along and it does its thing, and some people pick up on it. And, the refugee crisis happened to really pick up. But I do things like, using Minecraft to teach religious and moral education and celebration. So we have Minecraft worlds where Muslim and Christian children work together to explore and build structures and within their Minecraft worlds that teach and celebrate each other's religions. I have a gender equality and equity world where children go in and we have the children build and do lessons and things, and we give them jobs to do, but I consistently pay the girls less. And I like boys get 5 diamonds every 15 minutes, girls get 4. And I wait for the girls at some point to go, hang on a minute, that's not fair. And I say, yes, it isn't fair. And let's explore that. The boys laugh. Maybe the boys say first, we're getting 5 and you're getting 4. And I say, whoa, let's just stop there and let's explore why that's funny, because it's not. And then we and it is tough stuff. It's stuff that people don't want to talk about. We do, we use a variety of different games. Papo and Yo, for example, we use for exploring alcohol awareness. Papo and Yo is a beautiful game told through the eyes of a child whose father is an alcoholic, but he sees him as this big fun monster until he has a drink. And then he kind of crashes up your puzzles and you have to start again. And it's just this really harrowing story of this boy's life. We use things like Life is Strange to explore teenage angst and teenage life and relationships. We use things like Papers, Please, for example, to let children look at borders and immigration.
Yeah, that's
and
a hell of a game.
Yeah, and the reasons people are coming in and the decisions that we make. It's like, the difference between potentially someone's life and death is a rubber stamp on a borderline, and it's just, and the children are like, what? So then that segues me into the refugee crisis. It was 2015 and I was watching the refugee crisis in Europe unfold. And one of the statistics was there were almost 1 million people had tried to cross the Mediterranean into Greece in 2015. It's kind of like coming towards the end of that year. And 5,000, I think it was 5,000 and sort of 300 people or whatever had died. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was a significant number of people had died trying to get across. So I was speaking about this at a school event that I was at, and this young kid said to me, well, a number of things. The first one said, that's a brilliant statistic. And I said, sorry? And he said, that's amazing. I said, how? And he said, because like 1 million people and only 5,000 drowned. And I was like, whoa. That was 5,000 human beings that went into the sea and didn't come out. And he just couldn't get his head around it because it was a number. There was nothing in that for him but numbers. And that's the danger with, you watch the news and they give you, statistics. Oh, there's 8 million homeless people at the moment in this area. And people go, oh, is there? Because 8 million means nothing to them. It's a number. So I thought, right, let's talk about this. And one of the other things that came up was this kid said to me, oh yeah, refugees and immigrants, they come in here and they take our jobs. I said, you're 11. You don't have a job. But that's what my dad says. And I said, right, okay. So what we're dealing with is, and I'm not here to tell a child whether they're right or wrong, or tell an adult whether their political views are right or wrong, but let's talk about it and let's, explore it. And so I was hearing this sort of rhetoric coming back from, the kids about, oh, that's a brilliant statistic, or they take all our jobs or whatever. And I thought, we have to talk about this. So I made a Minecraft narrative that allows children to put themselves into the shoes of a refugee fleeing their homes. But the perspective I did it from was a Western. I actually modeled it on Britain. And I had the children in Minecraft, their houses were attacked, they were bombed out of their homes, and they had to go. There was this sort of sense of urgency. And it's really sort of at the time, and the kids are all like, oh, this is amazing. I've got to go upstairs and I've got to find 3 objects. And we made this chest where they had to take only 3 of the objects that were in it because they didn't have time. And, there was money and there's a passport and stuff like that. But you'd be amazed how many kids grab an apple, a feather, and a book or something. And I'm just like, okay. And, as the narrative unfolds, they realize what mistake they've made. We have them survive a minefield. And here's the crux of it. When children die in this narrative, they don't just respawn. They can't. And they say, I'll just respawn. And I say, no, you won't, because those 5,000 people in the Mediterranean didn't just respawn back in Syria.
Yeah.
They just didn't respawn. And I think there's a place in, you were asking me about the reaction that we've had to this. We've had overwhelmingly a massive, it's in 53 countries in downloads, over 12,000 downloads in 53 countries, which is massive for a Minecraft map of that nature. It's massive.
Yes.
But we've also had the negatives. We've had people say, we don't want you to present that at our event. We're not talking about that. We've even had a threat to our office, like a terrorist threat from a white supremacy group. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say this on your podcast because it's how I feel, but it may just be my political stance. But if you're upsetting these sorts of people, you're doing your job, I think.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. And so but it's been remarkable. And we've had children now from refugee countries. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar, you know, Lanny Watkins in Wales, I'm sure. Welsh MIE, he's a fantastic guy. He ran the project with his kids, and he had 2 Syrian refugees in his school that had been outcast and bullied from the day they'd arrived. He said they just couldn't get a break with the Welsh kids, which is really sad to hear. And he said by the time they'd finished this project, they were on the rugby team. They were being taught English by their peers. They were being invited out after school. He said they just got it. The kids just got it, And there was questions like, one of the kids said to the Syrian kid, "Did you come all this way on foot?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did." And they were like, "Wow," because they just didn't think that they had made their way this way on foot. And so it was just, for me, this is what lies at the heart of all of my work, is how do we teach children how to be better human beings while teaching them maths, which is important, and English, which is, or languages, which is important, and science, which they're going to need in their careers. Let's teach them to be better people, not necessarily first, but certainly as well as, And if Minecraft can help us to do that, then let's get Minecraft in every school.
Oh, for sure. So, Stephen, for our audience members that want to connect with you and want to even have deeper conversations about all of these topics, how can we connect with you?
So, shameless plug, although you did just invite me, but
yeah, go ahead.
My website is www.immersiveminds.com. And you can get me on Twitter at Immersive Mind, singular, and also at Immersive Minds, plural. That's the company. And my Facebook is facebook.com/Immersive Mind.
Love
Stephen Reid, yeah, man, thanks so much for joining us. This was amazing. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you both brilliantly. I really, really appreciate you want to talk about my work.
Thanks for listening to On Education. My name is Glen Irvin. My co-host is Mike Washburn. On Education is part of the Education Podcast Network. You can listen to this show and many others by great educators like Jennifer Gonzalez, Matt Miller, and many more by visiting edupodcastnetwork.com. Want to get in touch with us? Check out our website at oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at oneducationpod. Mike is at Mr. Washburn on Twitter, and I can be found at Irv Spanish. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/oneducationpod. We're also on Instagram at oneducationpod. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we would be thrilled if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost. This helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Classcraft, for supporting us. Check out classcraft.com/oneducation to learn more about them. Thanks as always for listening, stay awesome, and see you soon.